What's really important is, can you see my Starbucks cup?
Yes, absolutely. Really good.
Okay.
Can see it
Okay.
perfectly clear.
Perfect. That's all that matters. Okay.
Password?
So we finally made it. Thank you, Frank, for compromising your schedule for me. Thank you.
Oh, my schedule's open in the mornings usually. I'm just getting
Okay.
materials ready for class at this time, but don't worry about that.
Okay.
So I was
All
talking
right.
to
That's good.
Carolina last week. We
Carolina.
had a good conversation, Frank, about collaboration with her university in Colombia as well. And you both are in English language teaching, which is a great. The coincidence is awesome because you're the only two people that are active in this course, this version. So, yay! Which,
Yeah.
which I said before, it was
Yeah.
my screw up for like launching at the last second, and I was also feeling guilty for you, Frank, because you're like, I really want to get it done this semester, and so I said, we'll just do it. But I'm launching again a full version in January, so I got to do some more promotion to get it to actually launch with a bigger critical mass. But the good news is
Okay.
we've got you two active and working together, so that's good.
No,
Yeah.
not so sure that
I'm
active
not
with the blog.
canceling
I'm
it.
sorry.
You guys just get more direct access to Ken because it's not 100 people, which is
And you
awesome.
can get warmed up for the next session.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good thing,
Yeah.
definitely.
Image magic. I was watching your video, Frank. Thanks for sharing your
Uh-huh.
setup.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
So
you're a real pro.
where's your plus plus?
Plus plus.
I'm
Thank you,
talking to
sir.
Kathleen
Good.
here.
Yeah, and I saw the video. You're a real pro with that TV show thing. That's good. Very
Oh,
nice.
my Frankly Speaking show.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
that
awesome.
one. I
Yeah, do you
haven't.
do that just for your students, or is it just like a hobby or something? I don't know. I was wondering.
No, that's just for me because am kind of an opinionated person, so I like to express
Cool.
myself, and so I started that. Although I haven't been able to pay a lot of attention because to that this semester because the semester has been very demanding.
Okay.
So
But that's a really good way because I tend to be opinionated too, and then what that causes is a lot of problems with my coworkers. So I guess having a blog or a podcast or something like that is a really good way to get your opinions out, and not bother too many people near you. So uh, I
that's
don't know.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
it
you
seems to
from
work.
Colum? Are you
I
from
am.
Columbia?
Yeah, I am
Okay,
from
great.
Colombia. Yeah,
So
raised
there's
and born
actually, are you
here.
using, whatever there's like a graphical package manager you can use to do
Oh,
all this.
okay. That's with his
I'm talking to a
student.
student. I should mute myself when I'm talking over here.
Yeah, I guess.
We got to run. All right, good. Trying to install software for a student.
Okay.
Muy bien.
Muy bien.
What was I going to say? I was watching your video, Frank. Actually, it's a lot of it, I think, is related to what we discussed 2 weeks ago about your style of doing the feedback loop on things. But what was really important, I thought, was the concept of intentional content, that we're not just going, oh, well, we've always given these assignments, and the book has this list of exercises at the back of the book, so this is the exercises I should just assign to my students so they're doing stuff. And that's, for me, that's the real focus here, is actually get them to do something that has a reason to exist.
Yeah, and that can be a real challenge too because the institution requires them to buy the books.
I
The
don't know if I
books
may
are a little
there.
expensive. Yeah. Hello?
Hello, Carolina. That
Yeah,
the
it's
institution
kinda.
requires them to buy the books, the required
Okay.
textbooks.
Oh, yes. The institution requires the students to buy the books, and they're quite expensive. Those books, from the time that concept sort of comes up and the instructional material instructionists write the books, they get approved, they get edited, they get printed, and they get out there, that's 5 years. So that content is already somewhat dated by the time it gets to the student.
Yeah.
So we really got to find ways to somehow, look at the core concepts that are in the book, but update it for what the students need to know now and connect it to their real worlds now. And I think that's the challenge for the teacher, to be able to do that and step back, take a look at what the panorama today looks like and bring that into and complement the textbook with those materials.
Mm-hmm. Great. You're in ESL or in EFL, Frank?
Yeah, I'm in English as a foreign language because I'm in
Okay.
Mexico, and the students are learning English, in Mexico, which is a real challenge because once they walk out of the classroom, they're back into a Spanish-speaking world. If it were
Yeah, exactly.
ESL,
Same thing happened
same thing in Colombia, right? Because if it were
here.
ESL, they'd be learning it in the United States, and they walk outside, and they still got to speak English to survive.
Yeah, but
So
here,
it's a big,
for us, it's really difficult. I
yes, go
was
ahead.
mentioning, I'm gonna just say something about that because for us, it's really something difficult, especially, well, I work for a teacher training program, and we normally, we have a very good deal with the Ministry of Education. Well, it's like Secretaría de Educación Distrital, it's like just for the city. And so we're training teachers in the public sector. These teachers have the worst possible working conditions. They have 2 hours of English a week, yeah,
Right.
and students are supposed, according to our project of bilingualism in the country, students are supposed to graduate with a B1 level, according to the Common European Framework scales. So how are teachers going to help them achieve that, with only 2 hours per week of class? And also, when these 2 hours are sacrificed for anything else, like, for example, there is an event, Mother's Day. Oh, let's take it from English class. It's like the least important of classes.
That's
So
right.
these students really are not getting any content whatsoever. Another problem we have in that sector is that teachers are not allowed to ask for books. So students don't even have books. I mean, books can be terrible, but they don't even have that. So it's like whatever teachers can give them. And if a teacher hasn't been trained for a while, like my students, they come to our master's program after, say, 15, 20 years without any training during that time. So what they have been teaching is the to be verb forever and ever, just teaching grammar structures without any like meaningful language for students. Students hate English, yeah. So the situation here is pretty tough right now because we also have, I don't know if you have heard, our minister of education, she's putting all the trust in foreigners. So she's brought lots of foreigners, like volunteers, and so the idea is that these volunteers, they go to the schools and they are the ones that teach English, yeah, which sounds okay. However, the teachers are being neglected. So teachers who have trained to be teachers, who are getting training like constantly, are being, say, replaced by a foreign person who not even is a foreigner from an English-speaking country, can be a Russian or an Italian coming to teach English, yeah. And so there's a
Yeah.
lot of tension in there. I think more than ever, this idea of intentional learning comes to the rescue, let's say, to this rather crazy educational system that we have right now, especially in the teaching of English. Yeah, because it has become an obligation too. So English is part of every curricula, and it has to be a part of every school. And we have these standards where students have to have a B1 level by the end of their high school years. So it's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of tension, but there are not a lot of resources for teachers to actually achieve that. So it's a tough situation, I think.
It sounds like it. It sounds like you're in a much more stressful position than, say, we are here. I mean, we do have, this is a private school, and with somewhat affluent students, we have quite a few resources. We don't have some of those obstacles that you're facing, so I can really appreciate how difficult that must be. In the terms of like the students not having school books, sometimes, honestly, I think that maybe that could be a blessing in a way because the books are so old. If the teacher has some materials, I'm kind of a proponent of dogme, which means that the teacher creates
Okay.
their own materials based on the resources and the knowledge that they have, and especially since you have a background in learning, methodology and techniques and all that stuff. we can take whatever we have around us, and I actually think I could actually make a better class without having to always
Mm-hmm.
kind of bring my book into the classroom. So in that sense, as long as the teacher has some resource materials, has some
Mm-hmm.
books, has some methodology books, has some current materials, I'm not so sure that students actually need a book, to be honest with you. Maybe some
Mm-hmm.
materials, but not that. I don't think that they need a book. I think the publishers have gotten very strong and very aggressive, and they go into the schools and that you need this and you need that and you need this and you need
Oh
that
yeah.
and you should get this program and that program, and they even I've seen this happen. They even give payments to the decision makers at the schools to take the books. A little
Yeah.
facilitating payment. So there's a lot of politics behind that publishing editorial process,
Mhm.
and I'm not so sure anymore, in my head anyway, that that's the perfect model for delivering content to students. And so this intentional content concept that we're looking at right now, I think there are lots of other vehicles to get that content to the student, have it more current, have it more relevant, have it more engaging and more interesting. We have lots of internet tools. We have lots of resources these days. I don't know how your students are in terms of having access to the internet, but here they all have it. They have it like 20. They have it in Starbucks. They have it at home. They have it in any cafe. They have it here at school. They have access. What's the situation in Colombia with your school?
Well, it would depend on the sector, like on the socioeconomic sector that we're talking about. The thing is that, for example, the university I work at is one of the highest profile universities in the country. So of course, our students have, they can have a laptop and a tablet and a smartphone right there on their hand during class. So we have a video beam in every classroom. We have, like PowerPoint classes every day. It's very technological in the place I work for
I'm
because we
back.
have all the equipment and students. Okay, hi Ken.
Hello back.
And students have all the. Yeah, I was saying. Frank asked me how the situation in Colombia is in regards to internet access and everything.
Hmm.
So it would really depend on the sector we're talking about. So I was saying that at the university I work for, it's all. I mean, they have it all. They just have everything they need or want or dream of. However, they don't have the motivation or engagement. They don't care about English at all. So that's one problem. On the other hand, my students, these teachers in the public sector, they may have the motivation and students may want to learn because of X or Y reason, but they don't have so much accessibility to the internet. So probably they do have maybe a computer at home, but probably they don't have internet access 24/7. But they may have access to an internet cafe. Yeah,
Hmm.
so it's not it's difficult to generalize it,
Hmm.
because we have such a big gap in terms of socioeconomic conditions.
Right.
But still, I have seen, the worst and the best of both worlds.
So
Like,
I think when you've got that, like, not this luxury like we have right now, let's just connect and have a Google Hangout, right? If if
uh-huh.
if it's like, okay, I got to go to the cyber cafe, or even I've just got my cell phone and I can type messages and things like that in a WhatsApp group, is finding a way to do a lot of work asynchronously, like we do in this type of setup on our course, right? When you got a chance, you create your blog post, you create your contribution, and maybe if you've got a group of a bunch of students, I don't know if Frank does this, but maybe you have 30 students or more if you have multiple groups, and you don't say go comment on everybody's post, because that's hell. I mean, you don't want to make them comment on 30 people's posts, but you
Hmm.
create mini groups of 3 or 4 or 5, and then have them go and, okay, I have to go check Jenny's post and Frank's post and Carolina's post and Jose and someone else, and I go and check their posts and I put comments on them as a student and put them into smaller groups, and they can do that when they can, as opposed to doing these types of hangouts online is going to be impossible for them, or watching a video that's huge online might be impossible for them. Maybe, put it on a
Hmm.
USB and send it home on the USB or a DVD so they can watch the stuff at
Yeah.
home. So there's always
Hmm.
solutions. matter of being
Yeah, we have
extra creative. Because sometimes we're spoiled.
I am yeah, absolutely. I am directing. I am a thesis director for the master students, and I
Nice.
have a couple of students who are working on flipped listening
Mm-hmm.
in their school. And what they're doing is what we did at the beginning of the project, taking that into consideration, was to do like a needs analysis questionnaire, where students identified, my two students, they identified who had an internet connection, who had a computer, who
Mm-hmm.
had a DVD player, who
Nice.
had, like the different things. And then based on their needs, they have created the materials and they have created the different ways to offer the materials for students. So some
Mm-hmm.
students take a DVD home, others take a USB drive, and others do it online, in the YouTube channel that they have created. So Herman and Sam's, in their book, they say it's a matter of offering different possibilities and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that everyone has the possibility to access the materials. So once I think that's why I think flipped learning is such a great opportunity for this context particularly, because we can offer so many things, and not even, I mean, technology is not at the core. We use technology, we use the videos, we use everything because it's easier and it's
Mm-hmm.
nicer to convey the meaning that way. But if we didn't have the possibility, we could do it with a textbook, or we could do it
Right.
with a worksheet the teacher creates, or whatever. So it's really a good alternative in here when we have such variety of conditions, such deep and difficulties in some contexts. And it's like so heterogeneous that we cannot think of one model, like one size fit all model, because it's not going to work. So I think flipped learning gives us that flexibility, that we need in order to offer for students a better learning experience, taking into consideration also that they only have 2 hours a week. We can provide much more help this way, that we could in the face-to-face classroom.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's funny because I'm going to Querétaro this afternoon for a conference for the rest of the week. My students are all panicking because I won't be in class tomorrow or Friday for the other groups, and I'm like, but
Oh.
this course is not just about the time we have in class. The course, the majority of the time that you're supposed to be dedicating to this course is outside the classroom setting. And I think a lot of us have got into a phase where the course doesn't run if we're not physically in the classroom. And even at the Tech, where we're pushing this with our Tech 21 movement, it's like, what do you mean, Ken? You have to find a substitute for class on Thursday and Friday. I'm like, it's just going to be someone who's going to go and take attendance because they don't know my students. They don't have interactions with them. I can just give them something to do, and they work online like they do the rest of the week. So um, I think a big part of flipping is now that I've done this and my students are used to it, it's no big deal if I don't have a class for the second session this week because they're used to doing so much stuff asynchronously online with me. And so that's a big benefit.
I was really connecting with that blog post from, I think it was Andrew Miller, where
Mm-hmm.
he said that you constantly need to be revising and making adjustments with your content.
Mm-hmm.
And so the terminology that I had learned for that was it's called action research. I think that's a
Yeah.
technical term for that. And I think that's really important when we do something in the classroom, whether it's or in the classroom or on a video or however we're delivering the content, that we do need to see how the students interact with that material and what the outcomes are.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not not getting to where our goal was, then we need to step back. We need to be two teachers at the same time, maybe three. We need to be the teacher who is, facilitating, running the activity, but at the same time, the teacher that's standing back and observing what's going on and looking for those areas that work and those things that don't work and make some adjustments. You need to reflect a little bit after class or after the video assignment, or getting the feedback from the students or looking at their work that they've delivered, stepping back and making adjustments to that. And maybe you need to revisit it again in another class in a different way if they didn't get something. So I think that action research part of being a teacher to deliver content in a more intentional way rather than just throwing something at the student is really important too.
Right. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. In our context, we're trying to promote that among students. You know, like as we have graduate students, we try to have them do their action research projects, and well, of course, they have to do it as a requisite to graduate from the master's program. But the idea is to kind of instill that attitude of research among them, and to have them realize how that is the only way they can improve their practice and improve students' learning possibilities. Because we see that there are so many teachers that just, you know, come and go and go through the motions with the lessons every time, and students are missing out a lot of not only information but a lot of learning experiences because the teacher is not reflective. So I totally agree. I think it's important to have a reflective attitude in order to really know what's good, what's best for our students, and how to create those opportunities for them.
Yeah. Hey, one thing, Frank, because I was going to pull up Andrew Miller's post again so I could look at something, because I was just thinking of something that reminded me of. Your link to it is actually broken, but you can fix that later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll fix that.
One thing I found, actually it wasn't just necessarily flipping, it was more after I had kids, and more when my kids got to, and Carolina has her first right now, or her second actually, when my kids were in elementary school, I was realizing to stop blaming my students, and Andrew mentions that in his article, to stop blaming the kids, and I really realized so much more that our students are products of their educational background when they get to us, and we're dealing with university students, and I used to always think, wow, that guy's just so lazy. And now I realize, no, it's because he went through a school system where his mom did his homework all the time for him, because that's the culture we have in Mexico, very, very much. I just had a conference with parents and talked with teachers at my kids' elementary school yesterday, and now I don't blame. I know that they don't know how to think for themselves. They're not used to. They're used to studying for tests and memorizing what the teacher tells them. And I really like what Andrew says about don't stop blaming the kids and find out what we need to do to push them to think creatively, intentionally by themselves, and not having everything so spoon-fed. Like right now I have a final project and these students are coming and they're totally lost because they don't know what to do, and I'm thinking, great, this is awesome, because it means you need to figure it out, which is way more interesting than what the final product of the assignment is. And so that's why I really like my style of assignments now, where I totally leave it open, and they're struggling through it to learn, but they're learning how to learn in the process, and really that's all I want to do in these courses. I'm teaching undergraduate first semester type courses. So that was one reflection I had on your blog post there, Frank. I was going to say something else, but damn it, my brain just flipped out. Speaking of flip. No. Oh, well. Can't think of it. Damn. But I distracted myself. That happens all the time. And I noticed Carolina talks really fast. I can tell you're innovator, driver, stirring the pot and getting in trouble in your environment all the time. You've got this really fast.
Oh my God, you have no idea.
Oh, I know, because I'm that person. And usually I'm in these hangouts, and my friends are like, Ken, slow down. Don't talk so fast. Nobody can understand what you're saying because we're just going 100 miles an hour, and that's how my brain usually works. Frank was mentioning something about as a teacher being reflective on our process and modifying our assignments and what we're working on. And even though flip learning, theoretically, if we create all this content and videos or whatever to give to our students to do the work outside, and then we discuss and work inside actively, theoretically we can make all these awesome videos and say Keith Hughes or Hip Hughes is great at this. He has all these massive amounts of history videos of politics and other parts of history in the United States, and he does an awesome job. I love his work. So theoretically we can create all this content and then just keep reusing it. And keep reusing it for years, and that investment is made and we can reap the benefits. But I found I almost never reused my stuff from last year because I keep wanting to change it.
Yeah.
So the theory is there that I can reuse, but I just never do.
And in our situation too, like from one semester to another, I've got
Oh,
totally different groups,
yeah.
and I've got different levels, and I've got, now I've got business English where I had general English before, or I have a lower level where I used to have a higher level before.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really I think it takes a number of semesters or years to build up that material, because you don't know what level of students you're going to have or what the subject matter is going to be, because it's different from
Mhm.
semester to semester. It would be nice maybe if we could find a way to have certain teachers teach certain levels so that they could really build a repertoire of material, but I don't know if that's
Yeah, but
something that
then
could
I just
ever
get
happen.
bored. Now I want to move around, and I think what's important here is to be intentional when we're creating this content. And
Mhm.
and you've got the studio, and you're really digging into this a lot, Frank. Is when we're creating this content, we should be creating it intentionally, that it's not just Frank's class or Ken's class, and that we're creating content that people could reuse within their classes. And so
Mhm.
that's a good kind of lesson for all of us when we're creating this video
Mhm.
content or other content, that we release it under a Creative Commons license so people are free to use it, and put it in a context that other people can just come and take our stuff and use it in their classes, whether it's in the tech or our same university or outside. And so I think that's one lesson I need to take, is how to kind of package those pieces up so that they can be used by themselves and not need Ken physically in the classroom explaining what was done in that module of content I put online. So I think that's definitely something I can learn from. And I want a
I,
teleprompter. I want a teleprompter because it's cool.
I've got one. They're very easy to make. All you need is an
Yeah.
iPad.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my if you look in my video, I have my iPad in a case that's at sort of
Ah,
like at
that's what you did.
a 45-degree angle right below the camera, so that it doesn't
Nice.
get in the way. And I can look straight at the teleprompter, and it's basically at the same level as the
So,
camera.
right, so you're looking into
And
the camera.
yeah,
Wonderful.
so although I don't like to sound so scripted all the time, so there are some good programs that move along with the text moves as you speak. It listens to you. And then if you go off script, it stops and waits for you. So you can go, you can add some
Add
material
some
and
parentheses.
be a little bit more organic, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad I got us three together. I'm not kicking you out right now, but it's
Yeah.
11:30, and I heard Carolina kind of mentioning off to the side there, like she needs to step away.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's a it's all right. He hasn't started crying yet, so I'm okay.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
What else was I going to mention? So I need to spin things up for more promotion and get things ready for next semester's version, and I'm going to try to push on Carolina to get people in.
Mhm.
I know you
Yeah.
were thinking about doing something for training before the end of the year, right? For teachers there?
Yeah, well, I was trying to get them there, but the problem is I am not in, I mean, I
You're
cannot
not
decide for
physically
them.
on.
There is
Yeah.
a person above me. So
Mhm.
she said no, not this year, because everyone was tired and everyone was
Mhm.
ready to, just like do their grades and kick back and relax. So
Mhm.
it's gonna have to be next year. But
So
anyway, I already talked to her and said that it's gonna start on January 25th, and she said it's fine. So she'll get as many
sweet.
teachers as possible.
Because then
Yes.
what we could do is just like I did with this group in Veracruz, where I just kind of stood up every week and did the song and dance thing as
Mhm.
the expert. I'm going to bring in, like I did last winter, like get John and Aaron and Troy Cockram and all of these kind of more celebrity flip people in weekly sessions talking
Great.
about the content. My plan last year, and it didn't work out so well at the beginning, was one session was talking with experts and discussing the topic of the week, and then the other session, at least one other session during the week, maybe two if I can schedule varying times to accommodate different people, is the people in the course jumping in and talking, because I get so much more out of it of listening to the people in the course, and I think they do too. But I found that people really like the please record experts talking about it, because we just want to watch experts talking about things. So I want to put the
Yeah.
kind of mix in for that. So that's what I'm working on. But if you can like just coordinate all the people down there and kind
Yeah,
of be the person
absolutely.
on the spot going,
I
hey,
start.
please write your blog post
Yeah,
and
I
hooking them
start
up
work at
would be great.
I I start work on January 20th. I go
Mm-hmm.
back to work there, so it's gonna be perfect because I'll set it up like from here, from home, this year.
Mm-hmm.
Let her know, and the website they have to go to register and everything. But then when I'm there, I'll get people like together in a room and we'll talk about it and like this is what we're gonna do and because we are kind of in the process of flipping in the
Mm-hmm.
university. Um, they're just starting. They're just starting to
Great.
believe that this actually works. So it's
Well,
a
this is a
perfect, it's
perfect kind of entry
perfect
for them.
timing. Yes,
And I'm pretty
exactly.
sure we'll get critical mass because the tech is offering this as an official course, advertised through their regular mediums, and there'll be people signing up because it's easier. Like Frank is in Morelia, and I have an experience with Morelia that I've offered this before, and they gave them the credit for the course, so we've got that experience. But most teachers in the tech are looking for the official place to sign up, and it didn't exist, so that kind of freaked a lot of people out.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll be able to get a critical mass. I'm hoping for 100.
Woo!
Great.
Okay, great.
That'd be
I
awesome.
have an idea, Ken. I have an idea. Is it okay if I just go to your blog and steal your information and create a flyer? Like we can
Of
pass it on
course.
to teachers?
Of
Okay,
course,
so I'll just do
because one, we don't call it stealing because stealing means I can't use it anymore. You're using it. You're reusing it. And two, if you actually look at my page at the bottom, if it should say at the bottom that everything's released under a Creative Commons license.
that. Okay,
Yeah, it does
perfect.
actually. Unit 3, Intentional Content by Ken Bowers, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 4.0.
Yeah,
So
I
all
saw
of
that.
my pages say they're released Creative Commons, and you have the right to grab anything you want. Even my YouTube
Perfect. So
videos,
I'll
everything I publish is CC.
Okay, I'll do that, and then I'll show you the flyer, and we can pass the
Awesome.
flyer up for
And then
teachers,
I can reuse
to
your flyer for here. Awesome.
sure, so they can register, like they can register, like have that information on their inbox and just have a link there. They click and they just go straight
Yep.
to the course registration format, and we have them there. Yeah,
And use
let me
whatever
let
link
me
you
work that
want,
out.
Carolina, because the openflip.com goes to the main page, as well as aulainvertida.org goes to the same
Uh-huh.
page. So you can use whatever creative domain name that I already have pointing to the same place.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay. Cool. Well, sounds like
Okay.
the baby's crying.
Yep, exactly.
All
So
right.
I'm
Well,
gonna step
thank
out.
you so much, both of you. I'm so glad we could get us on at the same time.
Thank you. That was great. Yeah. Very
And
nice
I'm
to
Bye
meet you,
bye.
Frank.
all
Nice to
right.
meet
Bye
you,
Have an
bye.
Carolina.
awesome week,
Bye.
everybody. Cheers. I'm gonna
Bye bye.
disconnect now. Bye.
Bye.